Tonight, a lawsuit accusing the former operators of the La Cantera Resort and Spa of harassment and discrimination has now been settled. Documents obtained by the Express News shedding new light on the fallout from that controversial decision to exclude Chick-fil-A from the San Antonio airport. And it was a warm day in our area, but some big changes headed this way. Sarah Spivey with your forecast in a few minutes.
Thanks for joining us for KSAT News at 9 from right here in the KSAT 12 newsroom. I'm Myra Arthur. A Northside ISD high school football coach on administrative leave tonight as the district investigates an allegation that he injured a male student. The district confirmed that Warren head coach Jeff Robbins was placed on leave today. Robbins has been with Northside ISD since 2002. A spokesperson for the district says that Robbins is now being investigated by NISD Employee Relations, NISD Police, and Child Protective Services. However, so far the district has declined to release any specifics about these allegations. We'll keep you posted on any new information that we might learn. Beginning in 2020, all U.S. dental schools must change their programs to be inclusive of patients with intellectual and developmental disabilities. A local dental school is already teaching students how to serve people with special needs. Tiffany Huertas finds out what the UT Health San Antonio School of Dentistry is doing to get ahead of these changes.
And basically, we just have to wheel the patient back into the dental chair, and then the unit will place the patient in a more supine position to allow the clinician to then manage the work on the patient in a very easy fashion.
At UT Health San Antonio School of Dentistry, they have been addressing the needs of patients with special needs.
In our first 2 years, we've had pediatric dentistry. We're studying geriatric dentistry, and we touch on it again there.
Dental student Kelly Jimerson is also co-president of Special Care Dentistry Association Student Network. Those in the association are dedicated to promoting oral health and well-being for people with special needs.
Our main focus is community service events. We like to put together booths where we hand out toothbrushes, toothpaste, special types of toothbrushes like 3-sided ones that make it easier for the parents and caregivers to brush their child's teeth.
Kelly's interest in this topic started in college.
I spent a lot of time in college volunteering with an organization that served individuals with special needs, and that piqued my interest a lot, so I sought out a personal caregiver part-time job in college, and so between both of those areas I just fell in love with working with those individuals and their families.
This year, the Commission on Dental Accreditation approved new standards requiring dental schools to train students to treat patients with intellectual and development disabilities.
We've already been teaching students how to work with patients with special needs, but however, they still have limited access to treat them based on our capacities of our facility.
The school has invested in a new clinic specifically addressing the needs of patients with special needs, which will open in the winter of 2021.
These will be the regular operatories. They're larger than your typical operatory to allow for access for a wheelchair.
According to Loomer, right now, not every student has experiences treating patients with special needs from young to old. Students will now rotate through the new clinic, making sure they know how to cater to these individuals. The school will create an integrated course. For example, students will learn how to help patients with mobility issues get into and out of the dental chair.
We want to make sure that they understand that no matter what your physical ability is, what your mental capacity is, everybody deserves access to health care, including dental care.
The National Council on Disability first made recommendations following its 2017 report, in which they found people with intellectual and developmental disabilities regularly have trouble finding clinicians properly trained to treat them. The report also showed that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities were also more likely to have never had their teeth cleaned.
Now, changes to the pre-doctoral dental hygiene, and dental assistant programs are required to take effect by July 1st, 2020, with changes to the orthodontics programs required by January 1st. Myra?
All right, thanks, Tiffany. New tonight, the former management company of the La Cantera Resort and Spa has settled a lawsuit brought on by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. DH San Antonio Management LLC and Destination Hotels and Resorts LLC are accused of forbidding Hispanic banquet employees from speaking Spanish anywhere at the resort in the fall of 2014. Hispanic employees allege the resort operators allowed people of other nationalities to speak their own languages. The lawsuit also claimed that many Hispanic employees were referred to in derogatory terms and Spanish was deemed a, quote, foul language, end quote. Representatives with the resort say that those claims are without merit, but a $2.65 million settlement was reached to bring this dispute to an end. A local man accused of killing his wife with his truck, and now his son is defending him. People in California prepping to leave at a moment's notice as wildfires continue to burn there. And a driver acts casual after crashing into a gas station, and it was all caught on camera.
Here's tonight's 9 at 9. A Selma man is accused of running over his wife Saturday night with his truck. James Rigsby is now charged with murder. Rigsby's son is defending his father.
He shouldn't be in jail. It was just a freak, tragic accident.
He says he believes his father did not see his stepmom, who was sitting about a foot away in front of the truck. The man accused of killing 5 people at a Maryland newspaper last year has pleaded guilty. Jared Ramos entered a guilty plea to all 23 charges he was facing, but says he is not criminally responsible by reason of insanity. A judge has accepted the guilty plea. A jury is expected to hear testimony in the coming weeks to decide whether Ramos is criminally responsible. California firefighters are working to put out fires burning in both the northern and southern parts of that state. In Los Angeles, the Getty fire broke out overnight. It's already destroyed several homes and forced evacuations.
I went out on my deck and I looked to the left and I saw this huge inferno of fire and smoke and flames.
And up north, the Kincaid fire was still burning. Nearly 200,000 people have been forced to evacuate the area. U.S. Coast Guard crews seized $377 million worth of cocaine and marijuana in more than a dozen separate operations. More than 27 million pounds of cocaine and 11,000 pounds of marijuana were found on boats off the coasts of Mexico, Central and South America. A verdict reached in the trial of a local man.
A jury found him guilty in the murder of 51-year-old Rudy Borrego.
Borrego died in February 2018 after his motorcycle was hit by Ricky Cantu's pickup truck. Cantu's blood alcohol level was above the legal limit. Caught on camera, a driver crashes his pickup truck into a Michigan gas station. The driver can then be seen taking the license plate off his truck and casually walking away. He was later arrested and is now facing multiple charges. Here at home, a woman arrested after police say she attacked her mother with a crucifix. Police say Christian Lydia Martinez came home drunk and got into an argument with her mom. That's when police say she took a 10-inch wooden cross off the wall and started hitting her in the head with it. Pet owners in Florida are on high alert for bufo toads. They are an invasive species that release poison that can be deadly to pets. Exposure can cause seizures and cardiac arrest. Experts say they've been showing up in large numbers this year from Boca Raton to Vero Beach and further north in Florida. A Samsung Europe satellite falls from the sky and lands in front of a Michigan home. The device was sent to the stratosphere to take pictures. It had to make an early landing because of weather. No injuries were reported. To read more about these 9 stories, go to ksat.com/news@9.
Meteorologist Sarah Spivey joining us tonight to talk a little bit about the weather outside today. I walked out and just thought it felt so damp.
Yeah, it did feel,
morning.
it was a little bit more humid out there.
Just
and clammy and warmer too.
Yeah.
And you know, that's okay because we need those for ingredients for rain, and we could use some rain even though we got a lot of rain this past week. So let's crunch the numbers today. The high was 84 degrees at the airport, and that is about 5 degrees above average. Morning low around average as well. And as you can see outside right now, it's pretty muggy out there. We're seeing clouds build in as well. Winds are generally from the east or from the south at about 15 miles per hour, and that is slowly kicking up the dew points. But notice, lower dew points up in the hill country. That's a front that is expected to kind of be wishy-washy and move close to San Antonio tomorrow, and it will have a big effect on our weather for the day tomorrow. Let's talk about it. Wider view here, you can see where that front is right now. It's 50 degrees in San Angelo, but look at this cold core of air across the upper Rockies. Temperatures in the teens up there. So this is that front that's going to kind of be wishy-washy, not really make up its mind whether or not it wants to make its way through San Antonio. But for the day tomorrow, we will have areas of scattered light rain. Then as that front kind of washes through, temperatures are going to vary drastically from north to south around San Antonio. In the hill country, temperatures will be in the 50s, in San Antonio in the 60s, and down south in the 70s and 80s. But if this front decides, I don't want to go further south, I want to kind of hang out closer to San Antonio, then we'll be awfully close in the 70s tomorrow. But I do think it is going to move through, and so here's the forecast for tomorrow. Scattered showers, east-northeast winds at 5 to 15, and temperatures in the 60s all day. But an even stronger cold front, Myra, is expected to arrive. This one has made up its mind. I know when it's going to move through, and it's going to make for a chilly, chilly Halloween. So I'll talk about that coming up.
Yeah, how do we modify the costumes? We got to know.
Yeah, sleeves.
Thanks, Sarah. 4 days of early voting left in the Texas constitutional amendment election that's happening right now. And according to the Bexar County Elections Administrator, more people have cast early ballots this year than in 2017. Let's take a look at some of these numbers. Today, about 3,100 people voted. That brings the total number of early votes to more than 23,000 now. The last day to vote early is this Friday. Election Day is next Tuesday, November 5th. Meantime, if you have not voted yet and you still have questions about exactly what's on the ballot, we've got you covered. Just go to ksat.com/news@9 to see a rundown of what Texans are voting on. And you can also check out a sample ballot for Bexar County. You're watching KSAT News at 9. We'll be back in just 1 minute. A closer look at the city's unemployment rate, what a Major League Baseball proposal could mean for the San Antonio Missions, and some new documents shedding light on the fallout from that controversial vote to exclude Chick-fil-A from the San Antonio airport. Breaking down some of the week's biggest business stories tonight, San Antonio Express News business editor and columnist Greg Jefferson.
Thanks for having me.
As always, thanks for being
no
here.
Problem. Anytime.
Let's start with the unemployment rate at 3% for San Antonio. We hear of that number and that stat a lot.
Exactly.
But what does it really mean?
Yeah, so my column this week is kind of looking at what does it mean to have a historically low unemployment rate. We're at 3%, or we were at 3% unemployment for the San Antonio area, which reaches up to New Braunfels in September. Those are the latest numbers. And that is the lowest, I believe, in 20 years. So this is a big deal. This means, there are only 3 out of 100 people who can't find work who are looking for it. That said, my column is about the fact that we sometimes make too much of the unemployment rate. It doesn't actually tell you how the economy is doing.
And there are some things it doesn't look at.
Oh yeah, that's right, exactly. Like it doesn't take into consideration wage growth, which has been fairly slow in San Antonio. It doesn't look at, the number of jobs that don't have insurance benefits. It doesn't take into consideration people who have to work multiple jobs to keep, just to keep food on the table and to pay rent or a mortgage. It doesn't factor in, people who don't have paid sick leave, for example. And I kind of compare it to the city of San Antonio's credit rating. They've got a stellar credit rating, AAA. And the city officials, the mayor, the city council, the city manager's office, they talk about the credit rating a lot. And so much so that you get the feeling that it means you know, this is basically somebody outside the city saying this is a really greatly run city. It doesn't say that at all.
But it sounds like an excellent report.
Oh, it does, yeah. I mean, anytime you hear AAA, it's like, wow, that's got to be good. And it is, if you're talking about debt repayment. I mean, it doesn't say anything about how good our parks are. Doesn't say anything about the crime rate. That, you know, all of that stuff is, those are political considerations that really don't get swept up into the credit rating. And just like, you know, with the jobless rate, there's a lot that just doesn't go into it.
So in terms of the jobless rate, is it as simple as out of 100 people, this is how many don't have a job?
It is. It's actually not that simple. Of course, like statistics, they're never that simple.
Sure.
You know, and you would think that this would be, but no. It's this is out of 100 people who are working age and actively looking for work. And this is another thing the jobless rate does not do. It doesn't take into account the number of people who are working age, but for a variety of reasons aren't in the workforce.
Okay, so the next time you see the latest jobless rate for San
Take
Antonio,
it with a grain of salt, yeah.
or the bond rating.
Yeah.
No, there are other factors to
Oh
consider.
yeah.
Did you know that thousands of people in San Antonio live more than 2 miles from grocery stores that have fresh produce? It's one of the reasons why Palo Alto College opened a community garden on the south side. The garden is funded by grants and the San Antonio Food Bank. The goal here is to help make it possible for an entire community to eat healthier.
The community members get to come in, check out a garden bed, just as you would a library book, and we teach you how to, we share seeds with you, we teach you how to plant the plants, even how to harvest.
People who take advantage of this garden can also visit the Share Center on the Palo Alto campus to learn how to cook the food that they grow. Let's turn now to some of tonight's top stories. The House will vote Thursday on whether to affirm the Democratic impeachment inquiry into President Donald Trump and Ukraine. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the resolution would establish the procedure for open hearings, authorize the release of deposition transcripts, and outline how the Intelligence Committee can transfer evidence to the Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee would be the panel that would take up the potential articles of impeachment. Around Texas, the manhunt for the suspect in a deadly off-campus college party is now over. Brandon Gonzalez has been arrested and charged with capital murder. 2 people were killed, 12 others injured. Of those, 6 were shot and 6 were either trampled or hurt by broken glass. No motive has been named. Reports of vaping-related illnesses appear to be leveling off or declining. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The agency calls the results of vaping serious and potentially fatal, but preventable. They also say warnings from health experts about its dangers may have contributed to the possible decline. The CDC has confirmed 1,604 cases of lung injury associated with vaping as of October 22nd. The number of confirmed deaths stands at 34. Let's talk about a recent article in the Express News having to do with Chick-fil-A. Really eye-opening stuff about the fallout from the city council deciding to exclude Chick-fil-A from the airport. That happened earlier in the spring. The biggest takeaway I saw from this article was the possibility of a Chick-fil-A Alamo Dome.
Yeah, this was one of the weirder findings. So what we did was we had 2 reporters who made pretty much the same open records request of the city for all documents related to, you know, the whole Chick-fil-A debate back in March. These are the same documents, by the way, that the State Attorney General Ken Paxton has. Like, he's investigating this whole situation. So we basically looked at what he looked at. And yeah, I mean, what we found was this really fascinating PowerPoint with a mock-up of like a Chick-fil-A Alamo Dome, with the little, they even have, how Chick-fil-A has the little cow things, right? Yeah, it's like you had these cows adorning the Alamo Dome off, on the corners holding up their little signs. Hilarious looking stuff. And, we saw that, it's like, that's going on the front page. So, and it definitely did. But that's actually a little separate from their being excluded from the airport contract.
Sure.
I mean, basically what happened was the city was considering opening up the Alamo Dome's naming rights just to see kind of who the takers might be. A group of Chick-fil-A franchisees from San Antonio got together and said, hey, we could do the Chick-fil-A Alamo. So, it kind of fed into that. But, what we learned about the council decision itself was, I think it was as a spur of the moment and not really well thought out as we imagined. I mean, you saw a lot of panic in the email between council members, a lot of
the emails that you all received copies of, the text messages going back and forth.
And
there was a text from the mayor saying this is a non-issue.
That was an interesting one to me, just because at that point I think it was fairly obvious that, hey, this is an issue.
Right. And I repeat, it is a non-issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was more wishful thinking than anything. Sure. It's like, if I say it's a non-issue, maybe it'll be a non-issue. It's like, surprise, it's an issue. So and that didn't go away, and it just kind of got worse.
Of course, the city has been sued over this. Yeah. There has been the Chick-fil-A law that came out of Austin, so-called.
Yeah.
That wasn't the official name. But anyway, so a lot of fallout happened from this, and a lot to go look at in that article, just in terms of the back and forth and the conversations between officials that you all have now taken a look at.
At City Hall, I think I think the fondest wish of City Hall is that time travel were actually possible. And if it were, they would actually go back in time. And maybe not make this decision, but like do it differently, definitely. But I blame it on physics. We just don't know enough yet. But it's coming.
Well, of course there were some of the council members who said, oh, I voted this way, but maybe I did that a little too quickly.
Maybe.
Sarah Spivey back with us tonight to talk about plummeting temperatures headed our way.
Yeah, and you know what? As early as tomorrow, it could be a little cooler than what it is right now outside. But eventually on Halloween, it's going to be blustery.
Yeah, we can call this a legit cold front.
I think we can. That's a scientific word for it.
Legit cold front?
Legit cold front.
Oh man, little did I know.
No, you did. You did. Let's talk about tomorrow, though. So like I said earlier, that first front that's going to move through tomorrow it's going to be tricky. If it doesn't move through San Antonio, we'll be in the 70s, but I do think we will be able to see temperatures in the 60s tomorrow. So cooler tomorrow. And then that real deal, legit cold front is expected to arrive in the early afternoon on Wednesday. Wednesday we'll have scattered showers and even a few rumbles of thunder. That front will move through, quick 1 to 2 inches of rain in some places, and then we'll quickly clear out on Thursday. Look how cold this air is behind this front on Thursday morning. Temperatures in the 20s in the Panhandle. So all day on Thursday, we'll have a brisk wind from the north at about 30 miles per hour. That'll bring in some much colder air, and by Friday morning, I think we'll have our first freeze in the hill country. So just to recap, rain chances tomorrow scattered, Wednesday more widespread, scattered in the morning on Thursday, but then clearing out for Halloween. So here's a sneak peek for your Halloween. Cool, becoming sunny on Halloween during the day, windy, and then in the evening for trick-or-treating, clear, chilly, and breezy. Some modifications to Halloween costumes may be necessary. Again, a first freeze expected on Friday morning in the hill country, and then look at those temperatures in the weekend, highs only in the 60s. We'll be right back.
It is time for another Adulting Hacks here on the News at 9. We're here with Michael Van Cleve, USAA Advice Director. And Michael, we're going to be talking about buying a home versus renting a home. A lot of people have questions about this.
When it comes to buying versus renting, there's some different things you want to think about, right? Generally, it can be renting can offer more flexibility. which may be good depending on your situation, but buying may offer more long-term benefits. When you're looking at which one is best for you, there's a couple things you need to take into consideration. One, are you financially prepared to buy a home? There's going to be closing costs. You may need to have a down payment for the home, which is going to be a lot more typically than a deposit to rent an apartment. Have you looked at your budget, and when you do that, can you afford not only the principal and interest payment on the home, but also taxes and insurance and maintenance? Also, do you have things like an emergency fund and cash set aside? Because when you own a home, there's more likely going to be some unexpected things that come up. But obviously there's some advantages to owning the home as well. I mean, it's yours, you own it. You're probably going to have some more privacy that way. If you want to make upgrades or updates, you can do that. If you're in the right situation, you may get some tax benefits out of owning a home as well. Beyond the financial aspects, the second thing you really want to take into consideration is how long are you going to own that home? As a general rule of thumb, we would say here at USAA, if you're not going to own the home at least 3 years, you probably aren't in the position to buy it. You do have those costs up front to get into the home. When you want to sell the home, you're going to have costs again there. It takes some time for the home to appreciate. If you try to move out of the home too soon, it could cost you some money.
When it comes to renting versus buying, what are sort of your final thoughts or words on the process?
A good rule of thumb for yourself financially, you really don't want to have debt payments that are more than 36% of your income. Home buying can be a very emotional thing. We all want a nice home to live in, and don't allow those emotions to overtake logic and being responsible financially.
Let's go to KSAT.com right now to find out what's trending on our website tonight with Ivan Herrera.
Myra, all right, 3 great trending stories for you today. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
All right, so this first one is for those like me who didn't get a chance to get that Popeye's chicken sandwich that rolled out in August.
Ah, yes, the people went nuts over.
And
okay.
I think it's going to be a similar reaction this time. So the chicken chain said today that they're going to be releasing their chicken sandwich on Sunday, and this is going to be a permanent menu item. This isn't just a limited time anymore.
I was wondering, I mean, with all of the craze, why not just put it on the menu?
So they're also taking a jab at one of their biggest competitors by releasing it on Sunday. You know that they had created some controversy last time and tried to battle it out with Chick-fil-A on Twitter. Yes. Chick-fil-A didn't respond, but Wendy's came in and was like, all right, let's get some social media beef going on, or chicken in this case going on. But they say that they're confident that they'll be able to meet that demand, so hopefully they won't run out this time. But they did last time when they ran out. They actually had a bring your own bun campaign, so people were supposed to bring their own
and
buns.
didn't they have an app or part of their app that was set up to alert you when the chicken sandwich was back in supply wherever you were?
I hadn't gotten any notifications about it, but I do want to try that chicken sandwich. Hopefully they don't run out this time.
All right, so
More
here's
on
another
KSAT.com
chance
for that one. All right, next up, since we are really close to Halloween, I wanted to keep it a little themed for the next 2. So it's always good to keep your pets safe, but even more so during Halloween, you know that pets cannot have chocolate, and that is the thing that is always around during the Halloween time. So just make sure that don't have it anywhere near your pets. It can be, even a nibble, Animal Care Services says that it could be potentially fatal. So just don't keep it around them.
So your pets are the fun size, don't give them the fun size.
Exactly. And they're also reminding pet owners that cellophane and foil wrappers can pose a choking hazard.
Yeah.
So just don't put anything near them.
Just eat it all yourself and throw it away quickly.
Yeah, and then another one, just some pets might not tolerate costumes and they might be scared by trick-or-treaters, so maybe don't take them out if they're scared of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like me. So yeah, more tips from ACS on KSAT.com for that.
Okay.
All right. Last up, keeping it in the Halloween spirit, this last one is for anyone who loves free or discounted food. So on KSAT.com right now, we have a list of freebies and deals to restaurants that are offering to those who are donning their Halloween costume, but I'll tell you about some that don't require a costume.
Okay.
So let me tell you about a few that apply. On Halloween Day, Mod Pizza is offering those who show up with a costume a mod-sized pizza or salad for $5.
Ooh.
Awesome. And Krispy Kreme will offer a free donut of choice to anyone in a costume. So that's for Halloween Day. And for the parents not wearing Halloween costumes, throughout the end of this month, Applebee's is actually offering a $1 rum vampire drink, which sounds kind of scary.
Okay.
And then Chili's is offering a fantastic Rita for $5. And get this, it comes with vampire fangs.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course it does.
Keeping it in the spirit, and it's almost over, and then we're into November.
It's almost over. You sound like you love Halloween so much.
I do. I'm excited, but it's almost over. And then we're on to the next ones.
That's right.
More on KSAT.com
Tis
for
the
those
time
deals.
of year.
We have tons of them. So thank you for having me, Myra.
All right, thanks, Ivan. We'll be right back. All right, let's talk about baseball in San Antonio. Baseball, long been a topic and an aspiration, something to enhance here. We had Mayor Ivy Taylor, what was it, 3 years ago, 2016?
Made the bold and absolutely wrong statement about how in 2019 there's going to be a downtown stadium.
And we don't have that.
Well, I mean, let's give her due. I mean, I have not found it. I mean, like, I've driven around downtown. I looked for it. It's not there.
A lot
that
of
I can
people
see,
are looking for the plans for that, and that's something that the city said that they're waiting on. We moved up to AAA, of course, with the Missions this season, but Major League Baseball making a big announcement.
Yeah, they want to cut. So baseball's minor league farm system has 160 minor league teams. MLB wants to cut that by about a quarter. So I'm a journalist, but my math is not great. So I'll say that's like 40 teams. What's really driving that is the quality of their stadiums. So that's a big concern in San Antonio because the Missions, our team's playing out of Wolf Stadium, fine establishment, but it's also kind of out there. It's on I-90. We reported over the weekend, it was about 20 minutes from downtown. We actually, a couple of our readers said, 15 minutes. Max, if you speed, sure, yeah. But I mean, if you're driving normally, it's about 20 minutes. It's difficult to get to. It doesn't have a lot of modern amenities. It's just not a great stadium. And both Nelson Wolf, who is he's our county judge. He's a huge supporter of baseball, loves baseball, and by the way, loves having his name on a baseball stadium. And the owners of the Missions also, those two camps are really interested in a downtown stadium. Nobody's given up on that yet, but I mean, it's really not part of the political debate. It's certainly on the back burner, and in this kind of environment, I just, there would have to be a big public finance component of this. Politically, I think that would just be a difficult sell at this point. But I mean, we haven't even gotten, we've heard nothing, effectively nothing for a couple of years
And
now.
wasn't this part of the agreement in order, the swap within the minor leagues that gave us AAA? For those who aren't big baseball fans, it's kind of a confusing deal, but that's what led to us becoming a AAA team. Wasn't a stadium part of that deal?
Yeah, make your best effort.
Yes.
And, is that happening? I don't know. I've got to say though, I'm not a big baseball person, so maybe this is playing out at light speed when it comes to baseball. I don't know, but it seems pretty slow to me.
All right, so we will stay tuned.
Great.
Hold on to our Cracker Jacks.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Greg.
This is your daily tech and business briefing from Cheddar. GM plants around the country are now back to full staffing after a strike that started in September. The United Auto Workers Union ratified its contract late on Friday, bringing that strike to an end after 40 days and at a cost of $2 billion to GM. The union says it will soon begin contract negotiations with Ford, followed by Fiat Chrysler. And JP Morgan is quietly shrinking its workforce here in New York City, the city that has long been the main hub for the bank's traders and analysts. But the bank has been slowly building up its presence in other lower-cost locations, such as Plano, Texas, and Columbus, Ohio. Now it's considering relocating several thousand New York-based jobs out of the area to help rein in costs. And its finance meets the final frontier. Virgin Galactic making its debut on the New York Stock Exchange today under the ticker symbol SPACE, without the A. It's the first space tourism company to go public, and investors are buying the story in its debut. Virgin Galactic spacecraft can carry 6 passengers and 2 pilots to the edge of space, with tickets costing about $250,000 a person. And that's your Cheddar Business and Tech Update. I'm Kristen Scholler from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
That's all our time here on KSAT News at 9. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Myra Arthur. We'll see you next time. Good night.